I've been looking for one of these a very long time.
No way, what is that?
That's crazy.
That's a huge tiger shark.
This is one of the coolest fossils I've ever seen.
What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are looking for fossils yet again, and my buddy Colton is coming out here to meet me right now. We're going to hit the creek and see what we can find. Today I wanted to make a video specifically about how to find fossils, because I get a lot of questions on where to look, what to look for, how do I know there's going to be fossils in a creek. You can't just go anywhere and find ancient ice age mammal fossils or 35 million year old shark teeth. There's certain things you got to look for. What I'm going to be showing you today specifically is how I find fossils in Florida, but the same rules apply really anywhere. It's just going to be a little different from state to state. For instance, here in Florida, we're at such a low elevation that our bedrock is not far below the top of the ground. So it's pretty easy to find waterways that cut down to the bedrock where the fossils are exposed. Now, in other states like Georgia, that's also the case in certain areas, but depending on where you live, like if you live out west, fossil hunting is going to be completely different than this. So just bear that in mind. I'm just showing you how I do it on the East Coast. As far as equipment goes, we've got a sand flea rake. These are really cheap and easy to find at Walmart. If you do get one from Walmart, it's going to break, especially if you use it on gravel like we're doing. So you'll want to zip tie it, or you can just get a nicer one at a bait and tackle shop. We're wearing a wetsuit today because it is November. Here we got a sifter. These are really easy to make. I'll have to make a tutorial on how to do it at some point, but pretty simple. So Colton over there is looking with a mask and snorkel, which is what I've been doing as well. And we've also been sifting with the sifter. What you want to look for is gravel like this. You want to scoop in those areas with the sifter, and you want to look in those areas. You don't want sand so much like this, or shells. There's some areas that are just shells from corbicula clams like this. Now, the reason you want the gravel, you can see even this right here, there's looks like little bones of things in there. But this gravel is separated from the shells and from the sand because that's what the flow of the water does. It naturally separates this stuff out. Everything that's the same density as this gravel is going to be laying with the gravel. So naturally you look for a larger gravel like this size, you're going to find larger shark teeth. And you look for smaller gravel, that's more this size, you're going to find smaller shark teeth and other fossils. So what we found, Totus auriculatus. Colton found that just laying on the bottom. We got this one in the sifter, and I found this one just laying on the bottom. And we got a few more busted ones, but yeah, we're just sifting and looking. Another one, this one's busted, but yep. These guys are the ancestor of the megalodon, and it's pretty rare to find perfect ones like that. But yeah, Colton got a really good one. That's what you want to look for. All the places where you find like bigger gravels where you're going to find that kind of stuff. And oftentimes, before you start scooping and sifting or fanning, you just want to look on top first to see if you can see anything, because a lot of that stuff was just sitting on the surface. The thing to look for is areas like this. You see this tree over here? We're gonna go look under that tree. We've had really good luck there in the past, and right up here upstream from it there's an exposure here. So you'll see there's gray clay underneath the water in that bank that's washing out along this limestone bottom, and all the sediment's getting collected under that tree. And that's where the bigger gravel is, and that's where the shark's teeth are going to collect. Looking for our fossils over there, and then Colton found a tree with a bunch of huge river cooters under it, and he told me to come look at that. So right as I was about to head over there, I looked and found this little barber's map turtle on the bottom of the creek over there, and I've been looking for one of these a very long time. These aren't very common, and this is my lifer actually. That is really, really cool. Such a neat looking little turtle with that high ridge on its back and the really cool facial pattern. Awesome stuff. So we came out here to fossil hunt. I just found some little shark's teeth and stuff. And now we're herping unintentionally. That's a huge female river cooter too. Map turtles are so cool. Look at that head, that is crazy. Map turtles are really unique because they're sexually dimorphic. Well, a lot of turtles are actually, but in different ways. With these, the females will get quite a bit larger. This is a male, and he's still a young male, but he'll get a little bigger than this, but not too much. He'll get about the size of my hand, I'd say. But the females get much larger, and they'll have giant heads for crushing mollusks. If you look, there's mollusks all over the bottom of this creek. So it makes sense that these guys would be in here. But yeah, the females get huge, massive heads, and it's really cool. I'd love to find a big female one day, but man, it's awesome to see this little guy because like I said, this is my first, and this is one of my favorite species of turtle. Awesome. We're gonna let him go, but what a cool little guy. All right, we just found this beautiful male river cooter. The craziest part about him is his belly. Look at that. Like Cole said, it matches the kayak.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Whoa!
Alright, we're out here on the river, and we're actually coming out here to fossil hunt today, but I was hoping we'd see some turtles. And we've seen a bunch of little Barber's Map turtles, and Lex was able to grab this little guy. He was the one that didn't slide in. She was able to nab him. This is the second time I've seen map turtles in the wild, so I'm really happy. He's cute. Gonna take a few photos of him and let him go, but wow, now I just need to see a big female one with a huge head. This little guy, even though he is small, he won't get too terribly much larger. I mean, he'll get about hand size, so he's got some growing to do, but the females get way larger. I really gotta find a female to show. Alrighty guys, finally made it out here to this bluff. This is our destination for the day. Next we're gonna check a bluff right over there. But first thing I found upon getting out of my paddleboard was this nice vertebrae. I don't know what kind of vertebrae it was, or what kind of vertebrae it is. It was completely caked in mud, but now I've cleaned it off a little bit. And at first I said dolphin. It might be dolphin, or it could be a very large fish species, but that would be a massive fish, so I'm going with dolphin for now until proven otherwise. But either way, awesome fossil. That's my first whole vertebrae. See what else we can find. This stuff exposed here is Miocene in age with Pleistocene on top of it. So we can find anything here from a mammoth tooth to megalodon teeth. So really cool stuff. What'd you find? I caught that on video, you saying no way. Look, don't dig it out yet. I want to see in situ. No way. What is that? What is that?
Super careful though.
Yeah.
The last thing I just dug out a minute ago, I broke it.
What was it?
It was a shell. It was like a whelk.
They break easy. What is that? Is that a vert?
No.
Do you want to go get the
It looks like a
shovel?
vertebrae to me.
Yeah. Here's Dakota's find. He's getting something to dig it out with. And then right here, it looks like a whole clamshell. Can't tell, but if I just pull on that, it's going to break. So we're going to have to dig it out slowly. When you found it. That thing's been sitting there. That's in situ, so it's been sitting right there for like 20 million years or
That's
longer.
Crazy. That's definitely a vertebrae.
Yeah. That's got to be whale, I think. See if you can get that clay off of it without breaking it. You might have to just wash it off.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Just dug this clam fossil out and washed it off, mostly. And it's actually one I don't have. I don't know what this one's called. I have to look it up to give you the actual scientific name of it, but it's elongated and asymmetrical, so it's pretty cool looking. That is an awesome fossil. It's a big vert. That's got to be a whale or I guess it could be dugong. I think it looks a little big to be a dugong though. That's cool.
Don't ever tell me we're not gonna look at it again.
Oh my God!
Yeah, dude.
That's a huge tiger shark.
Wow.
I'm gonna keep looking at it.
That's a huge tiger shark tooth.
Pulled it right out of that rock.
I did.
What? That's just feeding damage though.
Yeah, no,
because
absolutely.
you have to remember it didn't tumble. It came right out of.
Yep.
Yeah. This tiger shark tooth Alex just found has a broken tip, but it's not broken after the fact. It was broken when it fossilized. That's just feeding damage where it like chomped into a whale or a dugong or a sea turtle or something. Probably some kind of bone that it bit into. And these teeth that we'll find in here are going to be mostly whole if we find them because they're coming right out of the formation. We're not finding them after they've been tumbled forever. So that's really cool. So now we're looking for these palmetto and plant fossils. There's one in here that Alexis just spotted and it looks nice, but it's upside down. It's going to be really hard to get it out. So we're going to have to flip this whole boulder over. There's a piece of a whelk that Dakota found. And we'll see if we can get it out, but it's going to be really difficult because it's so fragile. All right, we're excavating this. You saw a minute ago what it looked like underneath the rock, so we flipped the rock over and started peeling through it. And there's a beautiful palm frond. This Miocene is probably about 15 million years old. And then we got part of it here. We're trying to dig it out as carefully as possible so it doesn't break, but it's going to be hard getting it back. We will film the process and update as it happens. The hardest thing about this is going to have to be taken back in a kayak.
Yeah, this is like a palm stem.
We're done pulling all this stuff apart. Here's some of the other sides of it, but this is what we got. Yep, so we got 2 fronds in here. This main one, obviously, and this little guy that we didn't know is in there, and it's got some leaves around it. So now the hard part is getting this in the boat and getting it home. That is going to be the hardest part because it's so fragile. And even though this is a lot thicker than some of the other stuff we were digging through, it's very thin. We're going to have to chisel it down as small as we can without breaking it and then stick it in the kayak. So it's going to be hard, but I think we can manage it. Now the fun begins. This is one of the coolest fossils I've ever seen. It's awesome that that stem is partially still in there. Putting on what I think will be the final coat of this stuff, which it's lacquer. I'm doing this for Dakota and Alexis to help preserve this for them. I don't know if this is really thick coating I put on there. These are sand fossils from the Port Preston formation, so really sandy and clay. It's not rock per se. So what's happening here is as it's drying and as these coats are setting, these cracks are forming right here, and that's the issues I'm running into. So I've glued a lot of it back down, but it's just going to keep doing that. Some of these cracks got a little worse. It's in concrete. What happened here is because this is in sand. These fossils are just sitting on sand. I was putting lacquer on top of it to try to harden that outer layer, but all the sand underneath is still very much sand and not hardened. It's very soft. When sand dries, like you have a dirt rock, when it dries it just becomes crumbly and brittle. So that's what happened underneath. It was starting to crumble and all these little cracks formed. So now it's in concrete. I'm going to let this harden and once it's hardened, I'm going to take it out. I've already put some more lacquer on it, try to seal some of these cracks back down. And once that's completely done, it's out of here, I'm going to fill those cracks with something so you won't even see them. So hopefully this will all work out fine. I think it will. And once it's done, it's still going to be a beautiful piece. Alrighty guys, so we have got finished product here, at least pretty close to it. So this is the final look I'm going to give you guys at this beautiful fossil before I give it to Dakota and Alexis. It looks really good. I'm happy with how it turned out. As you can see, a few cracks have opened up, and that happened as the fossil dried. But in certain areas here, if you look really closely, I filled some of these in the best I could and made it blend in. Learned a few things, and I have a few different ways I know now I can do things better. But all in all, I think this is a beautiful piece of history. It looks nice, it's solid, and it's not going to break now. I did end up putting it in the concrete, which I showed you guys earlier, and I ended up painting that and putting the same lacquer on it that I put on the actual fossil to make it kind of blend in. And I think it's a pretty cool display piece, and it'll look nice in their house. So really stoked about it. These are little shards that we collected at the same site. You can see some palm frond pieces there. Another one here. There's the back of it. These have already been coated in lacquer as well, so they're not going to break. All really cool. So yeah, there you have it. Figured I'd show you guys the teeth we collected in the earlier part of the video. This isn't all teeth from that same day. These are teeth I've collected over time. Some of these are megalodon, but the ones we got are these right here. So these are all Atotus auriculatus, as I said earlier, and these are about 35 million years old. They're the ancestor to the megalodon shark. This is by far the nicest one we found. It's pretty close to being absolutely perfect. This one is actually very similar to my best auriculatus, which is this one right here. This huge one that is in perfect condition. It's missing like a couple serrations, but I may never find another one that perfect again. This is the megalodon shark that everyone's very familiar with, and this is the auriculatus. As you can see, what happened was, this one's missing the serrations. It should have serrations, but essentially what happened was the shark got bigger overall. This is a juvenile megalodon tooth, and it lost the cusp that you see here. But all around, very similar tooth, just a slightly different shape, and a cool example of evolution there. I just wish this tooth wasn't in such bad shape so you could compare them better. There you have it. We saw some neat fossils, saw some neat turtles. All in all, great time. Today I'm going to go out and look for some salamanders. That's about it, guys. If you'd like to, feel free to drop us a like. It helps with the algorithm. And if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe to see more beautiful natural history like this, as well as some pretty cool herping content looking for reptiles and amphibians. Thanks again so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.